Greetings and welcome to the Northern District webpage. My name is Tamara Wilcoxon and I am a member at Lincolnia Tabernacle Christian Center United Holy Church, located in Trevose, Pennsylvania, where Bishop Kenneth White is the senior pastor.
I am Emmanuel Jones and I am also a member of Lincolnia Tabernacle Christian Center.
We will be interviewing Bishop White today. He will be sharing some intimate thoughts about our district. So now it's with great pleasure that I introduce the president of the Northern District United Holy Church of America, Bishop Kenneth White.
God bless you, Tammy. And Emmanuel, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you and to be able to discuss and some of the things that are on my heart concerning our great Northern District. And I'm grateful to God for the opportunity to be able to share. And I want to greet the Northern District family also and thank you for this opportunity.
Bishop, can you name a person who has had a tremendous impact on you as a leader?
Well, that's such a broad question. And I could sit here for quite a while and begin to name individuals that I have looked up to over the years as I've grown up in the United Holy Church. And of course, one that comes to mind that I've always looked up to as a mentor and as a leader, of course, has been our own Bishop Joseph T. Bowens, who also served as my pastor for a few years when I lived down in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. But along with Bishop Bowens, of course, our former president, Bishop Robinson, was a great mentor to me for the past 17 years as I served in the Northern District. And of course, last but certainly not least, my own father, who taught me the love of the church and the concern for the church. And I believe it was that nurturing and those prayers and all the other things that come along with it that allow me to be where I am at this time. So I just can't limit it just to one person, but those three individuals had a great impact on my life that has brought me to where I am now.
How do you plan to encourage creative thinking within the Northern District?
Well, one of the things that we are doing is, of course, trying to put together teams within the Northern District to where we can come together and do some strategic thinking. We had a committee years back called a think tank, and it was during that time that we started looking at bringing about some positive changes to the Northern District and enhancing our program, offering the members of the Northern District some other options to even worship and even how we do things. And so my way of encouraging is, of course, looking out and drawing from the members of the Northern District, and realizing that I don't have all the ideas, and I'm not the only one with a brain, and even reaching further, even to our young adults and even to our youth, to be a part of the growth of the Northern District.
Bishop, tell us if you set aside specific times to cast your visions upon the district elders and other leaders of the church.
Well, of course, we have some things that are already in place that we have been doing for years. We have our quarterly sessions, which always is September, December, and March. And of course, our convocation is in June. And one thing that we have started is that we now have what we call our mid-year conference, and that's at the end of the year. Where we have changed the whole outlook from the quarterly meetings to where it's a time of instruction, it's a time of seminars and workshops giving space to those that have that gift and have that ability to instruct, and also to bring a lot of our churches up to date with the different technologies that we have now. And so that's the way that we've started doing it. And there's some plans that are in place where that we're going to look at meeting with our pastors more often throughout the convocational year, and not just waiting on those activities, but meeting with the pastors. In this day and age, pastors need encouragement. We're in a different church age now, and don't want to say that you don't see the commitment. I think that it's a different level that you have now than when I was a child coming up and observing my parents in the church. And so one of the things that we're doing, the way that we're casting our vision, of course, is also that I have taken a page from our former president, the Bishop Robinson, and have been visiting the sub-districts throughout the United Holy Church, or throughout the Northern District, and making myself known on the sub-district level, visiting the churches, visiting the sub-district, and having district elders bring the churches together, bring the pastors together. And the purpose is not to go and to preach a sermon. The purpose is to go and to share information, and to listen to their questions, and to listen to their concerns also. So that's one of the ways that I've been trying to cast the vision.
How do you help a new church or minister understand the culture of the United Holy Church?
Well, that's an interesting question. One of the things that the United Holy Church has always had in place has been what we call district elders, and the district elders are the arm of the bishop, of the president, and of course the district elder really is our front line when it comes to the churches and comes to the pastors. And so when we get new pastors that come on board, it's important, it's imperative, it's an emergency, really, in my mind, that a district elder must spend more time with a new pastor coming in than they would with any other pastor, especially a pastor who may not necessarily have been brought up in the United Holy Church. And so there's some things that they may not know, some of the traditions, if you please, some of the ways of the United Holy Church, and I say that because whether we want to believe it or not, there's still some traditions that everyone holds on to, and so we need to make new pastors aware of the structure of the organization, the structure of the United Holy Church, how it operates, how the district operates, why we do the things that we do. How the general church operates, and then it filters down to the district. And so it is necessary that that we instruct our pastors on the culture. Maybe culture may not be the best word, but it's because I think culture makes it sound like that the pastor who's coming in cannot be left to be them, to be themselves, and so maybe culture may not be the right word, but just a matter of pastors understanding some of the structure that we have, and then of course that district elder being a strong influence in the life of that new pastor.
Bishop, I'm really interested to hear your answer to this question. What is the one characteristic that you think every leader should possess?
Communication. I think it is so important that that the leader be able to communicate their vision, or communicate what they're trying to say. And I think that by having that open communication, it cuts down on problems. I stated earlier to you that one of the things that I have maintained, that I drew from our last president, was the visiting of the sub-districts, and being able to then go into the sub-districts and to not just do a monologue with them, but to have dialogue with them and allow them to ask questions. And I have found, this being my first year doing it, have found that it has opened up some things. It has set some minds at ease. And so I think that's one of the major characteristics.
What is the biggest challenge facing leaders today?
Oh, that's a very good question. And as I thought about that, I think a lot of leaders have to be careful that they don't try to mimic someone else, try to do something that may not necessarily be what God has intended for them to do. I think a lot of leaders falter. I think a lot of leaders may fail sometimes because they may be trying to do something that is not necessarily what they ought to be doing. And so when some of those challenges that are facing them, it is maintaining who you are and not trying to be someone else.
Bishop, as a member of the body of the United Holy Church of America, what would you say is the biggest challenge the Northern District faces today?
Well, I don't think it's just the Northern District. I think it's the church world itself right now. There are many churches that are being established every day. Every week someone is establishing a new ministry here and there, but I think that one of the challenges that's facing the Northern District, of course, is the whole communication with the local churches. I don't think that we have really tapped the power or the gifts that the local churches have. And so what's facing the Northern District right now is, of course, maintaining, holding on to, if you please, some of the local churches, because I believe that many churches are struggling in some area or another, and sometimes pastors feel like they're out there by themselves. They feel pretty lonely, even though they're part of an organization. And so one of the things that's facing us, of course, is that sometimes pastors may take on the attitude that I want to be by myself, I want to be alone, I don't want to be connected. And I think that one of the worst things that can happen is when you disconnect. I think all of us need someone. And as a leader, I have to recognize that we all do need each other, and that reaching out, as I said earlier, reaching out and touching these local churches, showing these pastors that we genuinely care about them is essential.
As a youth and a future leader, hopefully, what are a few resources you would recommend to someone looking to gain insight into becoming a better leader?
Well, there are so many resources that are available. There are so many authors out here that have written some very good books. There's so many pastors that have spent time pastoring and have written about their experiences. I would recommend, there's a very good book by the late Dr. Miles Monroe that's called Pass It On, which talks about passing the mantle, talks about looking at this next generation and being able to pass it on. He talks about that every leader ought to be looking at someone to take their place. And so, but I think that when you look at some resources, there are just so many things out there. There's many local things, local fellowships, local places that you can go, that you can attend seminars and workshops. It's just so numerous that you really can't speak of it. But the resources are great, and again, there are many books that have been written by some scholars and by some leaders that have been very open with what they went through, as a leader, as a pastor.
Bishop, for our viewers, what advice would you give anyone that's thinking about going into a leadership position?
Pray. Make sure that that it is whatever the position is, that is something that you know that is God ordained. I heard a statement years ago by a very well-known pastor, Dr. Charles Stanley, and he made a comment years ago, and he talked about the fact that concerning pastors, he said that in many churches that the wrong pastor is in that pulpit, and he made a statement. He said, and until the right pastor is in the pulpit, that church will never see the growth that God intended for it. And that's a very strong statement. And so I think anyone who's thinking about going into leadership, first of all, expect opposition, expect adversity. The Apostle Paul calls it contrary winds. To when you feel like you're going in the right direction, he talks about contrary winds coming against you. So expect that. Expect to be misunderstood as a leader, and but you have to know that you've been called to what you're doing, no matter what it is. There's some things that you just have to expect. Now, you don't go into it looking for it. You don't go into it looking for the winds, but because they'll find you all by themselves. But then I would say that just to expect some opposition when you start talking about being a leader.
Is there anything else you would like to tell our viewers out there in the Northern District?
Well, I do want to say that I'm so proud to be the 7th president of the Northern District. I never, as they say, in my wildest dreams, thought that I would be in the place I am. Did not realize, it took me several years to realize that a lot of what I was going through and dealing with was all in preparation for where I am now, and that the scriptures hold true, that the Apostle Paul said, and we know that all things work together for good, again, that love the Lord, to them who are the called according to his purpose. But I do want to say that, as I've said, going around this district, I feel like I'm on an assignment. And I feel like I'm on a time schedule with the assignment, and that is that I really believe that my responsibility at this time is to reach back and bring the next generation along. I think that there are some young men and some young ladies that are in our church that have the qualities, that have the love for, and but we have an opportunity and we have a responsibility as leaders, as pastors, as leaders of churches, to bring that next generation along. There's a scripture that I like to talk about often, and that's in Judges, the 2nd chapter and the 10th verse, and it just talks about how one generation passed on and they were buried with their fathers, but then another generation arose. But the key words in there says, another generation arose who knew not God. And so that's a concern of mine, because all this modern technology that we have is good. It's a part of the world. It's a part of growth. It's part of just life itself. But in the process of doing all that, we must teach this younger generation about the things of God. We must do like Moses did and almost testify of what God did for Israel, and we have to tell this next generation what God has done for us, and so that they're not a generation that is raised up and doesn't know God. So my closing comments would be just that any leader, anyone that's walking in leadership, should have their eyes open for someone that they need to mentor, someone they need to bring along, because at some point in time, whether we like it or not, or believe it or not, someone is going to take our place. I want to say thank you so much to Tammy and to Manny for taking this time and allowing me to express myself as much as I could. And appreciate you both. Thank you again to the Northern District. As your president, I'm just excited about what God is doing and wants to do with us. There's a saying, and I started to bring another pair of glasses, but there's a saying that says that our future is so bright that you have to wear shades at night, and so we're just happy to be a part of this. Excited about what God is doing. There's just some great things that are going to be happening in this Northern District, and I'm glad to be a part of it at this particular time. Again, thank you all so very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Bishop. It was an honor to
Bishop.
interview you. May God be the glory.